Hello, everybody. I'm Gayatri Das. Nice to see you on this 24th installment of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the worshiping of Govardhan Hill. And then on the 25th chapter is the lifting of Govardhan Hill. And we're going to read through these. There's a total of about 65 or so verses. So I'll do the first 10 as usual. And then everybody else can kind of grab, 10 or 12 verses and we'll pass it around. And we'll let Jai Krishna go first after I read, if you don't mind, because he's in Dominican Republic and sometimes his signal fades, even though it distresses us to lose him. Uh, we, we, we still hope that he'll be able to stay online for the whole class. So start with me if you know the pranams. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devim Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyabari Paschyatyadesha Tarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Ram.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thanks for being with us. And for those who see this in the future, you can always reference the text in 10th Canto, chapter 24 and chapter 25. And you can refer to on Gayatri Das YouTube channel. You can see this, any of these that we've done. I don't know, now there are dozens, maybe even 100 or more of these classes that we've done on Bhagavad Gita and also on Srimad Bhagavatam. And once we finish Srimad Bhagavatam, with two more cantos after this. We'll start Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then after that, we'll do Nectar of Devotion. And so we've got a lot in store for you guys as we move forward. So if you don't mind, I'll start out as usual, and then we'll let somebody else read. Maybe Jack Krishna could read next. So text one, Sukadev Goswami said, while staying in that very place with his brother Baladev, Lord Krishna happened to see the cowherd men busily arranging for a sacrifice to Indra. Being the omniscient supersoul, Supreme Lord Krishna already understood the situation. Yet, he still humbly inquired from the elders, headed by his father Nanda Maharaj. Lord Krishna said, my dear father, kindly explain to me what this great endeavor of yours is all about. What is it meant to accomplish? If this is a ritual sacrifice, then for whose satisfaction is it intended, and by what means is it going to be executed? Please tell me about it, O Father. I have a great desire to know, and I am ready to hear in good faith. Certainly, no secrets are to be kept by saintly persons who see all others as equal to themselves, who have no conception of mine or another's, and who do not consider who is a friend, who is an enemy, and who is neutral. One who is neutral may be avoided like an enemy, but a friend should be considered like one's very own self. When people in this world perform activities, sometimes they understand what they are doing and sometimes they don't. Those who know what they are doing achieve success in their work, whereas ignorant people do not. Such being the case, this ritualistic endeavor of yours should be clearly explained to me. Is it a ceremony based on scriptural injunction or simply a custom of ordinary society? Nanda Maharaj replied, the great Lord Indra is the controller of the rain. The clouds are his personal representatives, and they directly provide rainwater, which gives happiness and sustenance to all creatures. Not only we, my dear son, but also many other men worship him, the Lord and master of the rain-giving clouds. We offer him grain and other paraphernalia of worship produced through his own discharge in the form of rain. By accepting the remnants of sacrifices performed to Indra, people sustain their lives and accomplish the threefold aims of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Thus, Lord Indra is the agent responsible for the fruit of success of industrious people. This religious principle is based on sound tradition Anyone who rejects it out of lust, enmity, fear, or greed will certainly fail to achieve good fortune. So, who would like to pick up there? You, Jack Krishna, could you do that?
I sure can.
Text.
First of all, I like to comment everybody. For I saw the pictures of the gathering this past weekend and the weekend before. Very nice out there in Duck River, Vrindavan Forest.
Haribo.
Harimo. Okay. Sukadeva Goswami said, when Lord Keshava, Krishna, heard the statements of his father Nanda and other senior residents of Braja, he addressed his father as follows to arouse anger in Lord Indra. Lord Krishna said, it is by force of karma that a living entity takes birth, and it is by karma alone that he meets his destruction. His happiness, distress, fear, and sense of security all arise in the effects of karma. Even if there is some supreme controller who awards all others the results of their activities, he must also depend upon performers engaging in activity. After all, there is no question of being the bestower fruit of the results unless one fruit of his activities have actually been performed. Living beings in this world are forced to experience the consequences of their own particular previous work. Since Lord Indra cannot in any way change the destiny of human beings, which is born of their own nature, why should people worship him? Good question. Every individual is under the control of his own conditioned nature, and thus he must follow that nature. This entire universe, with all its demigods, demons, and human beings, is based on the conditioned nature of the living entities. Because it is the karma that causes the conditioned living entity, excuse me, the living entity to accept and then give up different high and low grades material bodies, this karma is his enemy, friend and neutral witness, his spiritual master and controlling Lord. Therefore, one should seriously worship itself. A person should remain in a position corresponding to his nature and should perform his own duty. Indeed, that by which we may live nicely is really worshipful deity. If one thing is actually sustaining in our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? We would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with her paramour or men. The Brahmana maintains his life by studying and teaching the Vedas. The member of the royal order by protecting the earth, the Vaishya by trade, and the Sudra by serving the higher, twice-born classes. Alenda?
That's fine. And who would like to read next? They take 10 or 12.
Set 21 to.
Yep.
Okay,
Please.
I'll read.
Okay.
The occupational duties of the Vaishya are conceived in four divisions: farming, commerce, cow protection, and money lending. Out of these, we as a community are always engaged in cow protection. The causes of creation, maintenance, and destruction are the three modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. In particular, the mode of passion creates this universe and through sexual combination causes it to become full of variety. Text 23. Impelled by the material mode of passion, the clouds pour down the rain everywhere, and by this rain, all creatures gain their sustenance. What has the great Indra to do with this arrangement? My dear father, our home is not in the cities or towns or villages. Being forest dwellers, we always live in the forest and on the hills. Therefore, may a sacrifice for the pleasure of the cows, the Brahmanas, and Govardhan Hill begin. With all the paraphernalia collected for worshipping Indra, let this sacrifice be performed instead. Let many different kinds of food be cooked, from sweet rice to vegetable soups. Many kinds of fancy cakes, both baked and fried, should be prepared. And all the available milk products should be taken for this sacrifice. The Brahmanas who are learned in the Vedic mantras must properly invoke the sacrificial fires. Then you should feed the priests with nicely prepared food and reward them with cows and other gifts. After giving the appropriate food to everyone else, including such fallen souls as dogs and dog eaters, you should give grass to the cows and then present your respectful offerings to Govardhan Hill. After everyone has eaten to his satisfaction, you should all dress and decorate yourselves handsomely. Smear your bodies with sandalwood paste and then circumambulate the cows, the Brahmins, the sacrificial fires, and Govardhan Hill. Text 30. This is my idea. Oh, Father, and you may carry it out if it appeals to you. Such a sacrifice will be very dear to the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan Hill, and also to me.
Very nice.
There.
Very, very nice. If you'd like to read another couple, you're welcome to.
Okay. Sukadev Goswami said, Lord Krishna, who is himself powerful time, desired to destroy the false pride of Lord Indra. When Nanda and the other senior men of Vrindavan heard Sri Krishna's statement, they accepted his words as proper. The cowherd community then did all that Madhusudan had suggested. They arranged for the Brahmins to recite the auspicious Vedic mantras, and using the paraphernalia that had been intended for Indra's sacrifice, they presented offerings to Govardhan Hill and the Brahmins with reverential respect. They also gave grass to the cows. Then, placing the cows, bulls, and calves in front of them, they circumambulated Govardhan. Okay.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And I noticed, thank you so much for that, Eunice. We appreciate you. I noticed that Krishna Dasi is here as well. And if she knows where we're at, she could also read if she would like to. She's muted at this time. So if you hear what I'm saying, join us in the reading. In the meantime, maybe Rangavati could do a little reading.
Yes, I can do.
Okay.
Now for
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna,
dear.
Krishna.
do you have
Yes.
the book up in front of you online?
No, I don't have the book on me, but if you can share it with me on my email, next time I would be happy to read. And
Perfect.
I'm actually outside, so I'm gonna just listen, but next time I will read with you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you
Sounds
for
good.
being here. We
of
appreciate
course.
you. much.
I
Yeah.
will share my email address, and if you can send the book to me next time, I'll be ready for it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Haribol.
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 Right. 34, isn't it?
34.
Is it 34? As the beautifully ornamented cowherd ladies followed along, riding on wagons drawn by oxen, they sang the glories of Lord Krishna, and their songs mingled with the Brahmanas' chanting of benedictions. Krishna then assumed an unprecedented huge form to instill faith in the cowherdmen. Declaring, I am Govardhan mountain, he ate the abundant offerings. Together with the people of Raj, the Lord bowed down to his form of Govardhan hill, and thus in effect offering obeisances to himself. Then he said, just see how this hill has appeared in person and bestowed mercy upon us. This Govardhan hill, assuming any form he wishes, will kill any residents of the forest who neglect him. Therefore, let us pay our obeisances to him for the safety of ourselves and our cows. The members of the cowherd community, having thus been inspired by Lord Vasudev to properly execute the sacrifice to Govardhan Hill, the cows and the Brahmanas returned with Lord Krishna to their village Vraj. Now it's the end of that one. Do you want me to continue, or does someone else?
Continue a little more. We're all doing about 10 or 12 each for sure, or more.
Sukadev Goswami said, so we're on chapter 25 now.
25.
Yeah. Sukadev Goswami said, my dear King Parikshit, when Indra understood that his sacrifice had been put aside, he became furious with Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men who were accepting Krishna as their lord. Angry Indra went forth the clouds of Indra sent forth the clouds of universal destruction known as Samvartaka.
Right.
Imagining himself the supreme controller, he spoke as follows. Just see how these cowherd men living in the forest have become so greatly intoxicated by their property. They have surrendered to an ordinary human being, Krishna, and thus they have offended the gods. Their taking shelter of Krishna is just like the foolish attempt of men who abandon transcendental knowledge of the self and instead try to cross over the great ocean of material existence in the false boat of fruitive ritual sacrifices. These cowherd men have acted inimically towards me by taking shelter of this ordinary human being, Krishna, who thinks himself very wise, but who is simply a foolish, arrogant, over-talkative child. To the clouds of destruction, King Indra said, the prosperity of these people has made them mad with pride, and their arrogance is backed up by Krishna. Now go and remove their pride and bring their animals to destruction. I will follow you to Vraj, riding on my elephant, Airavata, and taking with me the swift and powerful wind gods to decimate the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj. There you go. Someone could take over then.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, my husband's going to try.
Oh, good. Good. There you are.
But you're short of people.
Yeah.
Sukadev Goswami said, on Indra's order, the clouds of universal destruction released untimely their bonds, went to the cowherd pastures of Narada Maharaj. There they began to torment the inhabitants by powerfully pouring down torrents of rain upon them. Propelled by the fearsome wind gods, the clouds blazed with lightning bolts and roared with thunder as they hurled down hailstones. As the clouds released torrents of rain as thick as massive columns, the earth was submerged in a flood, in the flood, and high ground could no longer be distinguished from low. The cows and other animals, shivering from the excessive rain and wind, and the cowherd men and ladies, pained by the cold, all approached Lord Govinda for delivery.
For shelter.
Shelter, right, I can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Trembling from the distress brought about by the severe rain and trying to cover their heads and calves with their own bodies, the cows approached the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The cowherd men and women addressed the Lord. Krishna, Krishna, O most fortunate one, please deliver the cows from the wrath of Indra. O Lord, you are so affectionate to your devotees. Please save us also. Seeing the inhabitants of his Gokula rendered practically unconscious by the onslaught of hail and blasting winds, the Supreme Lord Hari understood that this was the work of angry Indra. Sri Krishna said to himself, because we have stopped his sacrifice, Indra has caused this unusually fierce, unseasonable rain together with terrible winds and hail. By my mystic power, I will completely counteract this disturbance caused by Indra. Demigods like Indra are proud of their opulence, and out of foolishness, they falsely consider themselves the Lord of the universe. I will now destroy such ignorance. Since the demigods are endowed with the mode of goodness, the false pride of considering oneself the Lord should certainly not affect them. When I break the false prestige of those bereft of goodness, my purpose is to bring them relief. I must therefore protect the cowherd community by my transcendental potency, for I am their shelter, I am their master, and indeed they are my own family. After all, I have taken a vow to protect my devotees. Having said this, Lord Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, picked up Govardhan Hill with one hand and held it aloft just as easily as a child holds up a mushroom. The Lord then addressed the cowherd community, O mother, O father, O residents of Vaj, if you wish, you may now come under this hill with your cow. You should have no fear that this mountain will fall from my hand. And don't be afraid of the wind and rain, for your deliverance from these afflictions has already been arranged. Their minds, thus pacified by Lord Krishna, they all entered beneath the hill, where they found ample room for themselves and all their cows, wagons, servants, and priests, and for all other members of the community as well. Have I got enough in?
That's good. I think we have about 10 more to go. And if you'd like, I can read those last 10 since we're a little shy of people this time, a little bit. Sometimes we have a larger crowd. We can't get, Bomsey's not here. I know Ram Raghava couldn't be, several others. So which verse are we on now? What was the last verse you read?
We're on 23.
Okay. Lord Krishna, forgetting hunger and thirst, putting aside all considerations of personal pleasure, stood there holding up the hill for 7 days as the people of Braja gazed upon him. When Indra observed this exhibition of Lord Krishna's mystic power, he became most astonished. Pulled down from his platform of false pride and his intentions thwarted, he ordered his clouds to desist. Seeing that the fierce wind and rain had now ceased, the sky had become clear of rain clouds, and the sun had risen, Lord Krishna, the lifter of Govardhan Hill, spoke to the cowherd community as follows. Lord Krishna said, my dear cowherd men, please go out with your wives, children, and possessions. Give up your fear. The wind and rain have stopped, and the river's high waters have subsided. After collecting their respective cows and loading their paraphernalia into the wagons, the cowherd men went out. The women and children and elderly persons gradually followed them. While all living creatures looked on, the Supreme Personality of Godhead put down the hill in its original place, just as it had stood before. All the residents in Vrindavan were overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and they came forward and greeted Sri Krishna according to their individual relationships with him, some embracing him, others bowing down to him, and so forth. The cowherd women presented water mixed with yogurt and unbroken barley corns as a token of honor, and they showered auspicious benedictions upon him. Mother Yasoda, Mother Rohini, Nanda Maharaj, and Balaram, the greatest of the strong, all embraced Krishna. Overwhelmed with affection, they offered him their blessings. In the heavens, O king, all of the demigods, including the Siddhas, Satyas, Gandharvas, Charnas, etc., sang the praises of Lord Krishna and showered down flowers in great satisfaction. My dear King Pariksit, the demigods in heaven resoundingly played their conch shells and kettle drums, and the best of the Gandharvas, led by Tumburu, began to sing. Surrounded by his loving cowherd boyfriends and Lord Balaram, Krishna then went off to the place where he had been tending his cows. The cowherd girls returned to their homes, singing joyfully about the lifting of Govardhan Hill and other glorious deeds performed by Lord Krishna, who had so deeply touched their hearts. Isn't that beautiful? What two wonderful stories that we've read tonight. Isn't that wonderful? So Krishna he's capable of anything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, Adir Govinda Sarvakaranam. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the one without a second. His body is made of Satchidananda with form. So it's made out of eternality, bliss, and knowledge. And if you further want to identify him, he's called Govinda, the tender of the cows, right? So we know who Krishna is here. This is all described in the 10th canto wonderfully and translated by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, for our benefit so that we can understand who is God. God is in the spiritual sky. He never leaves, but he expands himself in all these different incarnations as avatars for our benefit, right? Pritranaya saranam vinashyaya chadushkatam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna comes again and again and again. Why? To deliver the sadhus, to the pious people. They're being delivered. And duskritam, those mudhas, those grossly foolish personalities who are deluded by the modes of material nature. They don't know Krishna. He says, Trabir gunamayir bravir eba sarvam midam jagat mohitam nabijanati ma bebya param avyayam. Krishna says, deluded by the three modes of material nature, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So Krishna is above the modes and inexhaustible, but was he above the modes? He's supposed to be in the mode of goodness, right? But we see that even the King of Heaven can have pride. And that pride comes before the fall. That's an old adage. I don't know if anybody's heard that one before. Pride comes before the fall. We wrote a song in the Murari Band back in 1976 about pride cometh before the fall. So we see that people whose pride is puffed up, Prabhupada always says puffed up like the big frog. The frog is croaking very loudly. He's making his noise. But he thinks he's calling the beautiful frogs, the lady frogs, to see him. But instead, the snake is listening. And so the snake is slithering and he's coming through the grass because he's following the sound of the proud frog. And then the frog is devoured. So this is our situation in the material world. We're devoured by lust, greed, and envy, which leads to anger, which leads to madness, and then one falls down again in the material pool. And that material pool consists of 8,400,000 species of life, starting with the amoebic one-cell life, and then gradually evolving from there. You know, there's this atheistic philosophy that there is no God and that everything is happening by chance. Everything you see is happening by chance. It's evolving naturally. So if it evolved naturally, how is it that it happened kind of all at once? Because we don't see the species changing. We do see the species adapting, but where have you seen a one-celled amoeba become a human being or vice versa? It's not possible. It's not even practical what he's talking about. This is atheistic philosophy, this evolution of the species as Darwin has presented. And Prabhupada was very adamant that we should defeat this philosophy at all costs. So in Bhagavad Gita in 7:15, Krishna says, Namang duskritano mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya pritigyana asuram bhava masritam. He says, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among men, and whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion, like this illusion of the Darwinian philosophy, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, those personalities do not surrender to me. They don't. They think they are God, and they're very busily about the work of becoming God. If you read in the chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Divine Demoniac, you'll see that their manifesto is that so many of my enemies have I killed now, and I will kill the rest. I'm perfect, powerful, happy. I will give in some charity. Everyone will worship me. And, I'll do these things and I will enjoy unlimited pleasure within the material world. Unfortunately, the snake of death is coming, and it's hearing this loud croaking of this demoniac man who's saying, I am the supreme. I am the best. I'm the most powerful. I'm the most happy. I'm the most wealthy. I'm the most famous. Krishna means that person who is the most powerful, wealthy, wise, famous, beautiful, yet renounced. So Brahma says Ishvara Parama Krishna. So we know who that personality is, and we know that Krishna has expanded unlimitedly in the material world for the benefit of all of us. He's expanded into the Jivatmas. He's expanded into the demigods like Brahma and Shiva. Actually, Brahma, he's Jivatma. He can be Jivatma. We started out in the universe as Brahma. So the idea, though, is that we've fallen down due to these qualities or these material modes of nature. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in 7.25, he talks about, I am never manifest to the foolish and the unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. And so the bewildered world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So if we go back to the beginning of this chapter and we just take a little look, we can see what has happened here. It started out where Krishna sees that everyone, including Nanda Maharaj, all the cowherd men, all the Brahmins, everybody's putting together paraphernalia for the sacrifice for Indra, right? That's how it starts out. So Krishna wanted to know. He inquired from his father. He wants to know, what is this? Kindly explain to me, what is this great endeavor that you're involved in? I mean, who's it? What's it meant to accomplish? Who is the sacrifice intended for? And what means are you going to execute it? So he asked his father to tell him all about it. He has a great desire to know, and he's going to hear in good faith. And he says that no secrets should be kept by saintly personalities. So please explain to me what this is all about. So Krishna goes on and he says, of course, Krishna knew from the beginning what this was. God knows everything before and after. These are the Lord's pastimes. These are the Lord's pastimes. When he comes to the material world, he brings his entourage and he performs these pastimes so that we can wake up and we can understand who is God. We can understand who are we. We can understand the way back home, back to Godhead. And we can understand vidya avidya is what it's called. In other words, knowledge and ignorance, you want to know side by side. Because by understanding the ignorance, you can see what is not to be done. And to understand the knowledge now, you can understand what is to be done. So it's like the left and the right foot. We're making progress back home, back to Godhead, simply by understanding the difference between what is illusion and what is reality. Most people think the material world, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, which Krishna says are my separated energies, they think that's the all in all. But above that exists the mind, the intelligence, the ego, and then riding on that chariot is the soul. So when we're governed by the mind, which is fickle, then we're attracted by the senses and the sense objects. We are lost in Maya. We fall down in the material world. So Krishna is trying to find out why is this happening? What are you doing? Why are you worshiping? And so Nanda Maharaj comes back and explains that this has been going on for time immemorial. Everybody worships Lord Indra because he's providing the rain, the clouds, and so forth and so on, which gives happiness and sustenance to all the creatures. All the grass grows, all life is created from this watering and rain and so forth and so on. Not only that, but even the lightning bolt and thunder are auspicious because when the lightning is striking, it's creating, the scientists have discovered, positive ions, and it cleanses the atmosphere. The rain cleanses the atmosphere. All the pollution is destroyed. The dust is brought back to the earth, and then clean water is provided. So it says, we're not only worshiping him, but great men of all time have done that. We give him grain, we give him paraphernalia, and then by doing this sacrifice, through his own discharge, he gives us the rain in return. And then we accept the remnants of the offering to Indra, right? And then we are being able to fulfill the threefold aims of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Actually, this is karma kanda, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Krishna actually presents karma mimamsa philosophy here, and we'll discuss that a little bit too. So it says, this is based on tradition, and anyone who rejects this sacrifice to the demigods out of lust or enmity or fear or whatever will fail to achieve any good fortune. Now, so Krishna's in text 13, he's getting ready to rebut everything that Nanda Maharaj, his father, has just said. And I want to tell you about a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that I think you'll find that fits this moment in this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam perfectly. And that's in the 7th chapter, verse 23 of the Bhagavad Gita. And it says, men of small, I won't do all the Sanskrit, take too much time. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods. Krishna says this, Antavatu phalam te sham. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. But my devotees, ultimately, they come to me. They come to my supreme planet, Goloka Vrindavan, or they may go to Vaikuntha. But if we worship the demigods, there's another verse that we can address in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Abrahma, Bhuvanal Lokam, Panar Arvartanor Chuna. And he's saying that even if you go to the planet of Brahma, you still have to die. You lose everything because there's an annihilation after Brahma's life of 3.11 trillion years. But his life experience is like the life experience of us who live 100 years. It's the same experience. It goes by quickly, and then it's over. So Brahma experiences it in his own relativity. Does that make sense? You see what I'm talking about? Like the ant. The ant may live a few days, or the fly may live a few days, but then they die as well. So their life of a few days is like our life of 100 years. So when Lord Krishna hears this from Nanda, he's going to rebut everything that he's trying to do to worship a demigod. Okay? And so what he says, Lord Krishna says, is by the force of karma that a being takes birth, and it's by karma alone that he meets with his destruction. His happiness, his distress, his fear, his sense of security all arise from the effects of karma. And if you go to the purport by Srila Prabhupada in this verse, he says, Lord Krishna minimized the importance of the demigods by speaking the philosophy known as Karmavada or Karma Mimamsa philosophy, which basically is atheism. So Krishna is presenting atheism as a rebuttal to demigod worship, to defeat his father in this pastime. He says, of course, it's atheism with a belief in reincarnation. So he says, according to this philosophy, there are subtle laws of nature that reward or punish us according to how we act. As you sow, so shall you reap. Let me turn off my sound here. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. As you sow, shall you reap. So if that's the case, and if everything is being done by karma, and that you're getting your birth, you're getting your rewards, you're getting everything that you see from your previous karma, you've planted a seed, now you're enjoying the reward of that, right? Just like if you plant a weed seed, you'll get a weed. If you plant a fruit tree, you'll get fruits. If you plant strawberries, you're not going to get mangoes. So depending on the seed that you plant, That's exactly the result that you get. There's a physical law that I'm sure that Krishna Dasi and any of you scientific types out there could understand, that as there is an action is an equal, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So whatever action we perform, we'll get an opposite and equal reaction, right? So in the future, one reaps the fruits of his present work today. So you can actually change your future by changing your actions. And this, Krishna is saying, is the sum and substance of reality. But Lord Krishna, being God himself, he could hardly be a serious proponent of this mediocre philosophy, which is partial at best. But in his role as a young boy, he was simply teasing his pure devotees by preaching it, and he was trying to trick through Yogamaya even his family members to perform the activities that he wanted them to do. So what happens? He says that since Lord Indra cannot change karma in the destiny of human beings, which is born of their own nature, why should we worship him? So he's presented a good argument. It's a very good argument. As a matter of fact, they bought into it and they believe that. So he said, if every individual is under the control of his own condition, nature, thus he must follow that nature. The entire universe with all its demigods, demons, and human beings is based on this condition, nature of the living entities. But let me ask you this. Who created the universe? Who created karma? So Krishna is speaking atheism, but he's not talking the full story, because he's not saying who is that supreme person beyond these things who have created this, right? So he also says in Bhagavad Gita in 9:11, Avajananti mang mudha Manushyam tanam ashritam. Parambhavam janato mama budva maheshwaram. So fools deride me, he says, when I descend in my human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all it be. So here he's talking really about Indra, who's being foolish. He's seeing Krishna as a talkative young boy. He thinks he's an ordinary man. Ordinary boy, ordinary child, right? That's what we just read, that Indra saw Krishna as an ordinary person. So Krishna is doing this pastime to destroy Indra's false pride and bring Indra to the realization of who is Supreme Personality of Godhead and put Indra in his place, which he desperately needed to do, right? So Krishna actually convinced them through this actually kind of bogus philosophy. He convinced them that they should do this. And so he recommends to them a different type of sacrifice. And what he says, if one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? So what he's saying is our karma will produce for us the results that we want. So why should we take shelter of any other person? So he goes through the occupational duties of the Vaishyas, the Sudras, the Kshatriyas, and the Brahmanas. You can read all of that in text 22 in this chapter if you want to. And he talks about if it's done through sexual combination and it's full of variety. So he says, impelled by the material mode of passion, the clouds pour down the rain everywhere. And by this rain, all creatures gain their sustenance. What has the great Indra have to do with this arrangement? So therefore, he recommends a sacrifice for the pleasure of the cows, the Brahmanas, Govardhan Hill. And he tells them to collect all the paraphernalia that was going to be used for Indra and bring it and perform worship for that instead. And let there be all kinds of food cooked, baked, and fried. Everything should be made nicely with milk products. And this should be taken for sacrifice. The Brahmanas, who are learned in the Vedic mantras, they can evoke the sacrificial fire, properly invoked. And then we should feed the priests with nicely prepared food and reward the cows and with other gifts. So, and then we distribute the food to everyone. By the way, Krishna recommended that they distribute the food even to the dogs and to the dog eaters. So everyone under the great kings in the Vedic time, after sacrifice was performed, everyone benefited from the offering that everybody brought together, the grains, the cloth, whatever it was, the ghee, whatever it was, cows that were being offered in sacrifice in the sacrificial arena, they were distributed equally amongst everyone. So everyone benefited. It said just give grass to the cows and then present your respectful offerings to Govardhan Hill, because Govardhan Hill is producing all of this stuff for us that we need. So after everyone has eaten to satisfaction, then the sacrificial fires then we circumambulate Govardhan Hill. So he takes the cows in front of them, they circumambulate Govardhan Hill, and everyone is satisfied. So he did all this actually to destroy the false pride of Lord Indra. So when they heard, the senior men heard what Krishna has recommended, they accepted his words as proper. And they went ahead and did these things with the Vedic mantras and the paraphernalia intended for Indra's sacrifice. They presented all the offerings to Govardhan Hill. And so then, placing the cows, bulls, and calves in front of them, they began to circumambulate. Now, during this time, Krishna performed something very wonderful that we don't talk about very often. Does anybody know what Krishna did while they were circumambulating Govardhan Hill? Can anybody remember what that was? So Krishna assumed a gigantic form. It says here, a huge form, just to instill faith in the cowherd men, declaring, I am Govardhan Hill. And he ate all of the offerings that were meant for Indra. Isn't that cool? I think it's the coolest thing. That Krishna just ate it all. And of course, this just blew Indra away. He got very angry, right? So when we start in the next chapter, you'll see. Let's see what it says here in the first couple of verses. It says, when Indra understood that his sacrifice had been put aside, he became furious with Nanda Maharaj, with the cowherd boys, cowherd girls, and cows, Krishna. They accepted what he said was an ordinary person as their Lord. And Indra felt like he should destroy them. So what did he do? He sent forth the Samvartika cloud, which is the cloud that destroys everything and inundates the world in the great flood, right? We've heard about the great flood. Everybody's heard about these great floods that happen over and over and over again. They're called partial annihilations. It happens at the end of the day of Lord Brahma when he goes to sleep at night, right? And everything comes from Narayana. Nara. What does Nara mean? Nara means water. So Narayana means that person who's lying down on a bed of water. And the Lord is dreaming this for our benefit, because we wanted to leave the spiritual world. We wanted to come here and we wanted to enjoy the material life as if we were Krishna, as if we were God. And we've tried that, and we've tried that, and we've tried that in 8,400,000 species, and we've become frustrated with it. And now we want to go back to Krishna. Now we want to reconnect to Krishna. It's called yoga. And Bhagavad Gita describes 4 kinds of yoga, 4 pillars of yoga: Ashtanga yoga, which was meant for Satya Yuga. And then there's another yoga called Karma yoga. And then there's another yoga called Jnana yoga, or maybe Sankhya yoga, which is the analytical study of everything to understand what is the soul of everything. And it all leads to Bhakti yoga, which is the actual delivering top of the ladder of the yoga system. When one goes to that last rung of ladder, they step off into the transcendental world. Bhakti yoga is not of the material world. Bhakti yoga is a transcendental function, because you're giving everything back to God, and as a result, it becomes spiritualized. It's just like if you put an iron rod in a fire. At first, the iron rod is cold, but when you bring it out of the fire, is it still cold? Can you touch it? No, it acts just like fire. So when you act for Krishna, you become completely spiritualized. You're no longer a material person. Even your body becomes spiritualized. Everything becomes spiritualized. And as a result, it becomes eternal. And then you go back home, back to Godhead, never to come back to the material world for birth and death and suffering here. Instead, you're connected in the state of ecstasy beyond your wildest imagination, ever increasing, never dying, always in your perfect Swarup city, no growing old, no disease, no death, no pain, no suffering, no loss. Everything there is perfected. Whatever you desire to serve Krishna with, everything comes to your aid and provides that as a sacrifice to the Lord. And your relationship of love grows more and more and more and more and more. And the ecstasy is overwhelming. The pure love is overwhelming. So this is what we're talking about. When Krishna comes in the material world, it's for the purpose of showing us this type of love that he has, attracting our mind so that we can come back home. So what does Indra do? Because he's infected with pride, which is a gate to hell. Okay, one of the gates to hell. Lust is another, anger, greed, any of that. Those are gates to hell. So in this situation, Indra is angry. He even calls on Vayu and all the wind gods to come and blow the place down. He sends hail, he sends hailstones, and he tries to destroy the place. And in the process, what does Krishna do? Now, how old was Krishna? Does anybody know how old Krishna was when he lifted this Govardhan hill? You know, Rangavad? You know how old he was? I can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted.
Was he 7?
Yes, he was 7. Haribo! He was 7 years old.
Yeah, he was a boy.
He's a little boy, just a little child. And he picks up Govardhan Hill just like a little child would pick up a mushroom and hold it in his hand. Can anybody tell me how long he held it in his hand? Does anybody know how long he held it? Think about it.
7 days.
How long?
7 days
What?
and 7 nights.
I wanted somebody else.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
wanted somebody else to.
All right. It wasn't 7 days and 7 nights.
It was 7 days. It was 7 days. He was 7 years old, so it's 7. So 7's the magic number here. Maybe you guys could remember that one. 7. Yeah, it's a lucky number, right? So Krishna held it for 7 days, and he invited all the cowherd boys and everybody to come under, and all the everybody in Vrindavan brought out the paraphernalia, and they were saved underneath. And the whole world, literally around them, was flooded. You couldn't tell what was high. You couldn't tell what was low. So they were protected by Krishna during this period of time. And of course, they came to the Lord before he invited them in and told him, Lord, we need to take shelter. They were trembling from cold and so forth and so on. So Krishna is Hari. He is Vishnu. He is God. He is Narayan. And therefore, he is performing these pastimes just for the benefit of his devotees, including to quell the pride of Lord Indra. By the way, Lord Indra is living a life just like Krishna. If you want to be Lord Indra, you could be an Indra. You could take that post. It's a post. And it's filled by Jivatmas like you. So is Lord Brahma. If you want to do that, you can have the whole material universe. But guess what? You have to lose it all. So how does that feel? Not so good, right? So what do we want in the material world? Repeat after me. Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Why? Because everything you think you own here is an illusion. It's the cause and the source of your misery. Whatever you desire to have in the material world is just like a ghost. It will haunt you. It will drive you mad. And it will control you. Because anything you want will bring you fear, right? It will bring you anger if you start to lose it, if somebody threatens you or whatever. All of these things are there. And so the yogi, the wise person, it says, Satoshna Sukha Dukkha Da. We don't want any of it. We're not worried about it. We don't want the happiness. We don't want the distress. We're not matra sparsas to konteya satosna sukadukada. We don't care about the dualities of the material world. Our whole life is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. Our life is dependent on the hand of Krishna on our head.
I have a question.
Yeah, you got.
Yes,
Yeah, Krishna, go ahead.
but what about the sole purpose that we're born with? And once we realize that Krishna or the Supreme Godhead has sent us to follow a purpose, and so, but we still have to do that, right? The
Of
karma
course.
that we're born with.
Yes,
So
that's
when
called devotional service. Devotional service is karma free. There's no
I
karma.
see. But
Yeah.
then it still has to be in the material world, right? Like I'm
No,
born
no,
I'm
no, no.
born and born with a, or like I did my education and now my purpose or my soul aligned purpose is to serve through my work. So isn't that still going to attach me to the material world even
Not
if
at
I'm
all.
doing God's service?
No. No, and the reason not is Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that when you offer everything to Krishna, there is no material reaction for that. Now, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer for that, you can be a farmer for that, you can be a kshatriya for that, just
Yeah.
like Arjuna was, right?
Yes.
You can be anything for you. I don't know if you could be a butcher. I'm just being honest. I don't think doing that's a very good thing because you're killing and harming creatures. Krishna doesn't want anything to be harmed necessarily, unless it's for the good of all. Now, here's my point. My point is that everything you eat, everything you give away, everything that you do should be done as a sacrifice to Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagyarta karma nonyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Tadartam karma kontiya mukta sangha samachara. What that means is that everything you do should be done as a sacrifice for Krishna. How do you do that? You change your mind. You change
I
your
see.
mind. Yeah. So right now you're thinking, I'm doing this for my enjoyment. I can't wait to get it. I'm going to do this with it. But if you think I'm doing this for Krishna, that's the change of consciousness. That's called Krishna consciousness.
Yes. Thank you.
Excellent question, Krishna Dasi. Thank you. Very, very wonderful question. So let's finish up and we'll recap this because we're getting now 7:58. I'm trying to get this. Sometimes I have a tendency to go a little long, and I'm trying not to do that in honor and respect of everybody's time
Yeah.
because
I
there's so
can
much.
read. I can read. I have the access to the online thing now.
Yeah, yeah. You can also watch this on the YouTube too. All of these lectures and discussions that we've had, we've done these over several years since COVID. Actually, we started doing this. Previously, we gave thousands of discussions on this topic, but we didn't record them. We never recorded them. So now we're just doing that. So anyway, I'll move forward with the rest of the story. But excellent question. Whatever you do for Krishna, there's no material result. And I'll give you a good verse to substantiate that at the end of this chapter, if you don't mind. And we'll leave our evening with that. Okay. So it says, do not have any fear that the mountain will fall from my hand. Simply trust me. Come onto the mountain. But Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, he said, just surrender to me. Abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender to me. I'll protect you. Do not fear. If the Supreme Person recommends that to you and you do it, that is spiritual life. That's yoga at its finest. And that's the connection that we're missing and why we fall into the material world in the first place. So after Indra saw all this amazing, astonishing power of the Lord after 7 days of holding with his left hand and his little finger, he withdrew the clouds. And he realized, and he was put in his place. He began to understand, no, I thought I was God, but actually this personality is superior to me. And he's come playing as a small child. So Krishna comes incognito sometimes, and we don't necessarily recognize him at first. And we have to look, and we have to see, and we have to understand. So after this event, Krishna says, you can leave now, you can go. And everybody came to Krishna, and they either bowed to him or embraced him, whatever their relationships were. By the way, there's 5 rasas. You can have anyone you want. It's a beautiful thing. And depending on your relationship with the Lord, you will interact with him in such a way. So then we go to the next. Oh, I guess that's the end, isn't it? Wow. Is that the end of it?
Mhm.
Wow. How about that? The next chapter is called Wonderful Krishna. Wonderful Krishna. You know, that guy, that recaps all of the demons he killed, all the wonderful activities he performed with the gopis, stealing their garments and all this stuff. All of that's coming up in the Wonderful Krishna chapter. So you know you got to be here for that, right, Krishna Dasi? Haribol. We love having you. We love
Do we have time for a question?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we got time. Sure. Yeah, please.
Okay, I was a little bewildered tonight by a comment you made about how we took our birth. So we've taken 8,400,000 births to achieve the human form of life, is what I understood for all these years. So every birth, past, present, and future, are you saying, you said we were once Brahmin. How is that possible that every billions and billions and trillions of species and beings were all Brahmin at one time?
Well, it's easy to figure out. When
Okay, that's why I asked.
okay, here I'm going to give you one example. Do you remember when when the two gatekeepers of the Vaikuntha were approached by the little uh, what's the name of the, you know who I'm talking about, the little sadhus? They were naked little boys. My brain is, I'm geriatric.
Yeah, the giant bee giant were the gatekeepers.
Yeah, they were the gatekeepers. So anyway, they were offended and they were cursed to come to the material world. Well, they became the most powerful personalities in the material world by coming to the material world. Did you know you were in the spiritual world before you came here? This is all discussed in the Vedas. You were in the spiritual sky with Krishna. You could see Krishna. You could play with Krishna. Or maybe you were in the Vaikuntha planet. We don't know. But you left there and you came here to pursue these material desires, separate from the Lord. Mahatattva is separated energies of God. So we left God to come here to try to be God, right? We wanted to enjoy like God. We wanted to be supreme, most beautiful, wealthy, wise, famous, powerful. Now, during that first birth that you took here, it says that you take a birth very powerful because you're just now leaving the spiritual sky. So your first birth, it's said in the Vedas, is as Brahma. And from there, you can go directly back home, or you can come down and be any other demigod position that you like. That's not a plenary portion of God. I'm saying these are for the jivatma. There are some positions you can't take. Like Shiva is a plenary portion of God in the mode of ignorance. You cannot take that position. That is a direct manifestation of the personality of God as a plenary portion. And there are plenary portions of God. So it expands, God expands unlimitedly into material world, but you're a jivatma. So as jivatma, you can take some high post, very high post. You can take the post of Indra. But if you become lusty and if you become envious, then you fall down into the lower species. Once you fall into those lower species, you have to transmigrate up and up and up until you become human again. So that's how it works. When you first leave the spiritual sky, you're an elevated soul. What's the highest position in the material universe? Brahma. You take that position. So, but if you want to go back to Krishna, Krishna has a recommendation in 934 in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, Manmana bhava mad bhakto, majjaji nam namaskuru, mami vaishyashi yuktvavam, atmanam mat parayana. What does that mean? That means that you engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer your obeisances in worship. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. You will come to me. So if you want to stay in the material world in a place of birth and death, you can stay here all you want. It's okay. Krishna goes on to say, Itimat va bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. And what that means is that because he is the source of all material and spiritual worlds, you can go anywhere you want to go. You have free will. Everything is emanating from God. He's rewarding everybody as they're surrendering to him. It's okay. But he says, the wise who know who I am, who know who I am, by understanding these stories of Srimad Bhagavatam, they engage in my devotional service and worship me with love with all their hearts. And so that's our goal. If we want to go back home, back to Godhead, there's the answer. And that's what I wanted to give to you, Krishna Dasi. I wanted to give you that. Because if we want to go home, we can stay here forever. You can go back through the 8,400,000 species as many times as you want to. If you like being a dog, you can be a dog. You want to be a cat? You know, when I was coming up, I heard people, I want to be a bird. I'm going, what? Well, birds get to fly, you know. Somebody said I wanted to be a cat. But if you look at the cat, it's considered to be a lowly creature because it's out here surviving at the cost of other living entities' bodies. In the Vedas, it says jivo jivatma jivanam, jivasa jivanam. And that means that one living entity becomes the food of another. So we don't want to become the food of another living entity, another envious creature that's willing to rip the flesh from your bones for their sustenance. We don't want that. So it's a very dangerous place that we're living in. And so if we want to get out of here, we have to understand aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartante. That means that Krishna is the source of all these material worlds and all the spiritual world, and you can go anywhere you want. He loves you that much that whatever you do, he will reward to you. And you can act independently for the rest of your existence. You can stay here almost eternal, or you can go home in just a minute. But if you don't know who is Krishna, it's hard to go home. So Krishna says, those who know me, know my nature, my activities, and my appearance, they do not take birth again in the material world, but they attain my supreme abode, O Arjuna. He talks about this in Bhagavad Gita. He says, those who know me, they come to me. Those who worship me come to me. Those who worship the demigods go to the demigods. Those who worship the forefathers, they go to the forefathers. Those who worship the ghost and demons, they go to the ghost and demons. You know, Jai Krishna, you asked one time, how can you go to be a demon in Yamaraj's court, for an example? Well, they're serving Yamaraj. That's a post that God has created for the justice in the material world. If somebody's committing some heinous crime, there must be some reaction. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So Yamaraj is there to take care of that for you. And those personalities who worship the demons go to the demons. Yamaraj is not a demon, he's pure devotee. Actually, Yamaraj is a plenary portion of the Lord, is my understanding. But I've also heard that even Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, dies. Think about that for a second. Death dies? Pretty wild stuff, huh?
I had a question as well.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to understand where Jai Krishna Prabhu from, I think, but we also know that we enter this material world through rain, that many of the droplets of rain contain souls who are falling down to this material world, and then taking birth in the grains that then get eaten by the male. And then we enter, the womb through the semen, etc. Semen. So how does that mean we go to become Brahma first, and then if we don't rectify, we then come down as rain?
That's my understanding, is that when the soul leaves the spiritual sky, you take your first birth as Brahma, and then from there you can go directly back home. And if you don't want to go home, you can stay here, and then you take birth again and again and again and again and again. But what you're saying is that's Vedic information. That's correct. So the soul enters the body of the father, and then that soul actually, Krishna Dasa, you probably know more about this since you're a doctor than most of us, but I read that there, in the semen of the man, there are millions of souls that are then ejected into the womb of the mother, but only one normally, sometimes four or five, right? The octomom, you've heard about her. I think she had eight, right? So there's a lot of souls in that, right? And they're little fishies. They're just little fishies. They're swimming around there and they're trying to get a birth. They want to take a material body in the material world. And they've come to the material world to enjoy it. You need senses to enjoy. You need, tongue, belly, genital. You need all these things to enjoy. So they come to the material world for that purpose, and they enter the father. The father then ejects into the mother, but only, listen to this, out of millions, only one can enter into that egg for the mother. And guess what? That soul is the exact soul that had to be in that mother's womb and be born to that exact father in that exact situation under the exact circumstances of wealth, fame, whatever it was that they're, or deformation or whatever it is that their karma brought them. You see what I'm saying? And so they're born in the exact family. And this is all done by Krishna's intelligence. It says in the Vedas that it's impossible, really, for us to understand the intricacies of karma. We cannot understand how these things happen because everything is bouncing off each other at the speed of light. It would be impossible for us with our small intelligence to understand this. I read Richard L. Thompson. He was my roommate in Atlanta. He was one of Prabhupada's great scientists. He was a great mathematician. And he was trying to explain this in a scientific way. It was almost impossible to understand. So he gave the analogy that if you had an ant that was crawling on your arm, right? Here's the ant. See all those hairs? All right. So the ant is intricately, he understands each hair and he has to navigate around in the bumps and the hills and but he has no idea that it's connected to a doctor or to a scientist or to a mathematician. He can't comprehend it. His brain is too small. So we cannot comprehend the power and the magnificence of God. We cannot comprehend it. God can't even comprehend it. He can't even comprehend his own greatness. He amazes himself. In this chapter, it says that Krishna bowed down to Govardhan Hill after he took that gigantic form, and he offered obeisances, in effect, to himself. If you're God, you got to get up in the morning and offer respects to yourself. And if you're not God, you got to get up and offer respects to God. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, guys. Y'all are wonderful. I love you very much. I'm very pleased to see Krishna Dasi here, Jai Krishna, Eunice. We love you dearly. We're missing Ram Raghava and the parents. We love to have them every time. Vamsi, a lot of devotees obviously couldn't make it. The 4th of July engulfed a lot of people and a lot of activities. So our class is a little dry right now, but these go online, and we hope to promote this site so that many years later, people can still get this information as given really through a Prabhupada disciple, primarily because we're all going to die. I mean, we can't live forever. So I'm glad we're recording some of these things because what Prabhupada has taught us, we're just simply trying to give it back. It's not our doing. We have no intelligence. Without Srila Prabhupada, we're nothing. We're useless, right? It's just like this light here. See this light? If I don't plug it in, it won't light up. So we've plugged into Srila Prabhupada. Now we're all lit up. That's it. We didn't know anything about this. How would we know? We're born in the darkness of ignorance. Om Jnana Tamaram Dishya Gyananjana Salakya. Prabhupada brought the torchlight of knowledge, and all we're doing is simply repeating with our own personal realization. That's all we can do. And we offer all respects to Srila Prabhupada. We take no credit for ourselves. We don't deserve any credit. The only credit that we can take is that we used our free will in the service of the Lord. That's the credit you can take. And that's okay. You can do that. You have free will. You can make a choice. It's like a knife. Knife is neutral. Cut an apple, feed someone nicely, kill a man. Up to you. The knife is not to blame. We make the choice. Okay, so you guys are great, and thank you so much. Please accept my obeisances and my respects, if you don't mind. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhavaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much, and repeat with me, or just say it with me. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare Rama,
Hare Ram,
Hare Rama,
Ram Ram,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Beautiful souls, we love you. I can't wait to see you next time. Oh,
Hare Krishna.
you guys did show up. Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
you there.
yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I was missing you so bad. I'm so glad
Hare
you
Krishna.
came. That's my mom and dad right there. But I got my daughter with me. She's
Yay!
Krishna Dasi Haribo.
Haribol.
We're all very
Haribo.
good. And Sri Rangavati, she's my niece.
And Rangavati is my mom. And Bob is my grandpa.
Haribo.
Haribo.
All right, guys. Well, I love you all. I appreciate you so much. But in
Hare
meantime,
Krishna.
we're going to go ahead and end this class. But don't worry, we'll be back next week, same time, same station. Wonderful, Krishna. Think about that
Yeah,
until we meet again.
wonderful.
Haribo.
Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.